Greetings, I'm Ted Nichols with the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife. In 2018, we began a study on Atlantic Brant with our partners, the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, Canadian Wildlife Service, and the University of Missouri. We're using multiple marker types, including geolocators and transmitters, to answer some questions on Brant ecology. It's now early December, and although our Brant spent a lot of time out of cell phone range this past spring, summer, and fall, they're now back, and it can reveal the movements of where they've been the past several months. We'll now take a few minutes to summarize where those birds have been since they left last spring. This map depicts the 2020 spring migration of our marked Brant. The median departure date from the wintering grounds was May 20th. Most birds took 2 days on that trip and arrived on James Bay on May 22nd. 3 birds took a maritime route. Unfortunately, 2 birds were predated along the way, one in Quebec, one in Ontario, both by bald eagles. Brant spent about 3 weeks in James Bay, and after staging, most went straight over water to their breeding areas. If we zoom in on the spring staging area in James Bay, we can see the importance of lower James Bay, particularly the West Gaganish region of Quebec, an area that is rich in eelgrass beds. Eelgrass is a preferred and renowned food for Atlantic Brant. What's interesting about Brant is how they differ from other species of geese. Other species like Canada geese, cackling geese, snow geese, and white-fronted geese now largely rely on agricultural waste grains all across North America. Brant, however, remains strictly maritime and strictly tied to the marsh, the same as they have been for the past thousands of years. This map depicts breeding season locations of Brant marked in this study. Birds arrived between June 11 and June 30 with the median arrival date of June 16. Most of the birds used an area of the eastern Canadian Arctic known as the Fox Basin. About 1/3 of the birds were on Prince Charles Island. 6 birds were on Air Force Island just a little bit to the east. And about 1/3 of the birds were on a smaller cluster of islands, notably Spicer Islands, Foley Island, and Bray Island, as well as the Baird Peninsula of Baffin Island. 5 birds were on southwestern Baffin Island on the Dewey-Soper Migratory Bird Sanctuary. 2 birds, which were outliers, used King William Island. Interestingly enough, both of these birds were marked near Atlantic City, New Jersey. 1 bird never moved to the Canadian Arctic during the summer, but rather moved from its wintering area in Monmouth County to Long Island, New York, where it molted during the summer with about 200 other Brant. This map depicts the 2020 fall migration of our study birds. The fall migration is more drawn out than the spring migration. Some birds flew directly over water to fall staging sites at James Bay, whereas other birds made several stops along the way, most notably at Southampton Island or on Coates Island. Birds arrived on James Bay between August 22nd and October 9th, with a median arrival date of September 9th. Birds spent about 7 weeks in James Bay before departing for wintering grounds. Birds arrived on the wintering grounds from October 9th to November 4th, with a median arrival date of October 25th. We also have a full annual cycle map for a bird that we marked near Atlantic City, New Jersey last year, a bird we call 7 Yankee. This map was developed by and will be narrated by Josh Stiller with the New York Department of Environmental Conservation.
Thanks, Ted. So my name is Josh Stiller. I'm a biologist in New York State DEC, and I'm going to walk you through the migration of Y7 with white bands. The bird was banded near Atlantic City or Ventnor City in New Jersey in February of last year. Around late April, early May, this bird migrated along the Atlantic coast up to Long Island, as many of our Brant did. Of our 50 birds, the vast majority of them stopped either in Jamaica Bay or Hempstead Bays like this bird. You can see it spent a lot of time on a golf course before it continued on north after about 2 to 4 weeks there. As the bird flew north through New York, you can see it made a bunch of weird zigzags. So these locations, every time you see a little zigzag here, it's about every 30 minutes. And this bird stopped on 3 different Adirondack lakes. Up near Ottawa it stopped, and then it continued to fly across Ontario and Quebec up to the James Bay. The James Bay is actually the most important staging area for Atlantic brant between the breeding grounds up on Baffin Island and in the Fox Basin and the wintering grounds down on Long Island. So this bird stayed near Waskaganish on the eastern side of the James Bay. As it migrated north, it went along the east coast, across the Belcher Islands, and then across many of these small islands pretty far offshore in the Hudson Bay. It continued on until it got to what's known as the Dewey Soper Bird Sanctuary in Nunavut on Baffin Island. As you can see, there is a small banding camp that we use to band geese in this area. This is the largest goose pasture in the world with over 5 million breeding geese of a bunch of different species. So after spending the summer there for about 2 or 3 months, the bird started to migrate back south in late August, early September, and the bird took a pretty similar course. You can see on the bottom the course from the spring that it took, and now in its fall course back through, mostly through the open water of the Hudson Bay, and then back down to the James Bay. But instead of spending time on the eastern shore of the James Bay, this bird decided to spend more time on the western side of the James Bay by Agaminsky Island. After spending about a month and a half there, in late October, the bird started to continue its migration southward. Again, pretty similar course, a little bit farther west this time, and the bird came down through near Ottawa, across Ontario, and it made a stop on Lake Ontario for a little while near Oswego, New York, and then down through Syracuse and Binghamton. It went a little bit farther west this time, and had to make a slight course correction on the Susquehanna and then over towards the Hudson, and came down till the bird stopped in New York City. And funny enough, this bird actually spent a fair bit of time touring around Liberty Island and the Statue of Liberty. Then by December 3rd, the bird was still in this area, right in the Raritan, not quite to its wintering grounds yet. Probably by, about mid-January, early January, this bird will be back right near where we banded it, as most of these birds have done.
So 7 Yankees spent some time at the Statue of Liberty. Although the border is closed to us, it's certainly not closed to Atlantic brant. Now, waterfowl enthusiasts can help with this study. In particular, hunters can help us by returning devices that they harvest. We need to get the geolocators back so that we can extract the data out of those devices. That will reveal where those birds have been and how successful the breeding seasons have been for those females. We're happy to return those devices to hunters so they can have them as a keepsake of the hunt that they experienced. Now, birders should report sightings to the Bird Banding Lab, and in particular, photographs of marked birds are very valuable for this study. And finally, to reach the objectives for this study, we plan to mark more birds in New Jersey and New York this winter. We hope you enjoyed these videos, and thanks for your interest in waterfowl ecology here in the Atlantic Flyway.